I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be dating women whose exes still want them back. Well, I've got an email here from a viewer who's actually in that particular situation. And he's making a bunch of mistakes that aren't really helping his case, but he wrote a good email because there's lots of little things that I can point out where he's going wrong. He obviously found out about my work recently when he realized that she's kind of seeming to drift back towards her ex, and he asked me to critique what he's doing right and what he's doing wrong. And so I got a quote that I'd like to share with you before we get into his email. It says, "Freedom is one of the keys to maintaining love and increasing attraction. Two people who come together to share their completeness will always form a stronger and more stable love bond than two people who feel like they are missing something internally and seeking it in another. Why? When you seek the approval, love, and acceptance of another as your reason to feel loved, validated, happy, whole, and complete yourself, you set yourself up to constantly feel rejected, unloved, and unappreciated because your happiness hinges upon the actions of your lover matching your expectations. The reality is, most people will never live up to your high expectations." So let's go ahead and get into his email. He says, "Hey Corey, there's this attractive girl in my class, this guy's in college, who just broke up with her first boyfriend. They were going out for nearly 4 years. What you got to keep in mind is she has a lot of time with this guy, and so she's had 4 years to develop a strong emotional bond, and it's after a recent breakup. And so you're already kind of behind the 8 ball, so to speak, just because of the situation." He says, "The first time I laid eyes on her 2 years ago, I knew straight away that there was an attraction between both of us. Even our group of friends kept teasing and suggesting that we would be a good couple, and that I can see her blush every time she hears it. But because she was going out with someone at the time, I didn't do anything to avoid getting her confused." Which at the end of the day, that's the best way to have. Because if a girl's got a boyfriend or she's in a relationship, it's just not worth it. Because, I mean, you never know when the guy, she might be dating a wacko. And plus, you don't want to be another guy. I mean, think about it. If you're able to successfully rip her off from another dude, and you think, oh, well, she's going to be different with you. She won't cheat on you if you ever get lazy and complacent. You're deluding yourself. So I've always found that it's like, and plus I see a lot of guys that are going after girls or women that are in relationships or they're unavailable, and that's one of the ways some people try to stay out of relationships, is getting hung up on somebody that they can't have, and that way it becomes part of their story that they tell themselves, which is, hey, it never works out for me, I never get what I want. Well, if you're constantly going after women that are taken and unavailable, you're going to be disappointed. And so the idea is, once you find out if somebody's taken, hey, give me a call if it doesn't work out, and then you move on. And you keep looking for, because you want somebody that's single and available, doesn't have an ex in the background trying to get them back, obviously kind of like in this situation here. But sometimes these things come up. Sometimes you meet a girl and you have a great connection with her, and she just broke up with a boyfriend, or she's in the process of breaking up with him. So he says, "So I carried on with my own single life and just hooking up with other women, but until about 6 months ago, I've been hearing that she was having problems. Her reasons were apparently that her man wasn't treating her right, he was so self-centered, and that they could go for 2 weeks without seeing each other or even texting each other." Yeah, it sounds like that relationship had drifted apart a long time ago. He says apparently he wasn't affectionate enough and that he's not very thoughtful when it comes to dates, presents, and other shit that good guys do. Oh, and he even cheated on her at one point. Well, you can tell, I mean, her keeping a guy in her life that screws around on her, I mean, obviously she's young and she's inexperienced. And women that have a low self-esteem tend to put up with that kind of a crap, where women who have a high self-esteem and a high value in their own mind of what they're worth, they're not going to tolerate that bullshit and they're going to be out of there. So he says, inside those 6 months, we become very close and flirty and teasing and touching each other in class and even talking on the phone till 6 in the morning a couple of times. That's a bad way to go, because when you do shit like that, you basically become like her therapist or her gay male girlfriend, that she's still sleeping with the dude, but you're her outlet emotionally. You should be using the phone to set dates, to get together, to hang out, have fun, and hook up. And obviously what's happened here is you've allowed yourself to drift into hoping that she'll dump this guy and pursue you, and probably whenever she calls, you drop whatever you're doing and you talk on that phone forever. And when you talk too much, because you can't cause a woman to fall in love with you or feel attraction for you over the phone, you have to do it in person. It's just like if you've ever bought a car or a house or any kind of high ticket item, the salesperson, one of the biggest things they're going to try to do is to get you to come into their dealership or their office or to meet in person, because if you get together in person, you're pretty likely that you're going to actually buy something. And as a salesperson, and when you have lots of clients and lots of prospects, you want to spend your time talking to people who actually have the ability to actually buy what you want. But if you just keep talking to people on the phone but you never set any appointments, you're not going to have many sales and you're going to get fired as a salesperson. And it's helpful to take those same kinds of sales skills and incorporate them into your dating life so you don't waste your time with women who are unavailable, or in this particular case, she's in the middle of the issue with her boyfriend, potentially breaking up. So he says, and then we became very open to each other about everything X. In other words, so you started talking about her ex and this and that, and that's just a bad way to go. Family issues, beliefs, future plans, careers. And keep in mind, you're not even dating this girl. You just kind of see her in school and you're talking to her all the time. It's like the more you talk about your future and this and that when you're not actually going out, hanging out, having fun, and hooking up together, your chances of actually having a future drop dramatically when you do that. It's just a bad fucking way to go. He says now just under 2 months ago, a week before the university got out for summer holidays, she ended things with her boyfriend, and he apparently took it very well, and that she apparently felt like a huge weight was lifted from her shoulders because she knew that they wouldn't work out. Just 2 weeks after they broke up, we've become even closer and decided to let our feelings for each other out on the table and started seeing each other. Talking about your feelings and this and that, I mean, hang out, have fun, hook up. When you start talking about that shit, it's just you end up talking yourself right out of having anything with a particular girl. It takes 2 months for a woman to fall in love with a guy, and that's with consistent dating here. And throwing all your feelings on the table like you know that bullshit you see in the movies, it just doesn't get you anywhere. He said, because what happens is she knows everything about you because you talk all the time on the phone. She knows exactly where she stands with you. And it's a scientific fact that women are more attracted to men whose feelings are unclear. Women have to have the gift of missing you. That's how their feelings grow for you. I mean, think about it. It's like if you eat like a bowl of chocolate chip ice cream. It's like the first, and you haven't had it in like a month or two. And that first bite is amazing. The second bite is pretty good too. The third bite, it's alright. And then you get to the point where you've eaten like half a gallon of ice cream and you just keep stuffing it in your mouth. It doesn't have the same appeal as that first couple of bites once did. And it's the same thing with dating. You got to have time apart because you spend a lot of time together and you spend a lot of time talking on the phone. You're going to get bored. And it's like, what's the point of getting together? You already know exactly what's going on in each other's eyes. There's no way that anything can escalate physically when you're having a phone ship with somebody instead of getting to know them, hanging out, having fun, and hooking up in person. He says, and we started seeing each other, and when we kiss, it's like we've always wanted to, but we've always held back. We've been going to dinner on the down low. No one knows that we're seeing each other, not her ex, not our group of friends from the university, and only a few people from her group of friends outside of the university. He says, once a week, we're going for long walks, talked on the phone almost every night. So you're talking more on the phone than you're actually hanging out in person. You should be doing the exact opposite. There's nothing mysterious about you when you talk all the time and you just hang out for a little bit once a week. And it's hard to make something happen physically because she's not really feeling it. When you'll actually see this. If you talk on the phone all the time, it's like the analogy I just gave you a minute ago, like with the chocolate ice cream. It's not as fulfilling. But if she only gets to see you and really talk to you either in class or when you're hanging out, it really has a much higher value and creates attraction a lot quicker than doing the exact opposite, which is talking on the phone. He says, she tells me how her day was and asks how mine was, and at one point we were telling each other what we liked about each other and that she's never felt this happy for a really long time, that she felt trapped in her old relationship, and she was so glad that we ended up where we're at. He says, now a few weeks into making out, the dinners, the walks, etc., she tells me that her ex-boyfriend has been trying to win her back and that she was getting annoyed and irritated to him until she went to her friend's birthday party, who was also friends with her ex. The ex was present, and long story short, he basically told her that she was the best thing that ever happened to him, and she was the love of his life, and that he could really see a future with her. Well, remember, he was hardly talking or seeing this girl for like 2 weeks at a time. And that's what happens when the guy gets dumped, and then he all of a sudden thinks, oh, I lost the best thing that ever happened to me. He's deluding himself, because once he gets back together, all the reasons that turned him off and caused him to only want to hang out with her once or twice a month, they're still there. He says, and after hearing all this, she basically tells me that she's now confused because there's me and how I am to her, and there's him, and that he said was that what he said was all she ever wanted him to be to her, and hearing that, what he had to say, brought back happy memories. I guess with that, feelings came back as well, so I'm thinking this shit is fuckery. She then decided that she needed a break from both of us because she needed time to think, and she did. You've talked too much on the phone. There's nothing mysterious about you. She knows exactly where you are, and you're a perfect backup guy at this point. He says, while on break, I'm seeing her commenting and liking on her ex-boyfriend's Facebook picture. She's commenting on mine too, but isn't that giving out mixed signals for both me and the ex? It's like you're playing right into her hands. You're giving all the power away to her because you're not acting like you have anything of value to offer, because you're basically sitting around waiting for her to make a decision instead of moving on with your life and dating other chicks. He says also, during the break, some of her friends who are also friends with her ex are trying to get them back together, and from then on things have been blurry between us. So I decided to tell her that I wasn't interested in being in a love triangle, and that I was going to make the decision that she could make, and told her that she can take her time, but I'm not going to wait around on her. Well, it's good that that you're not going to wait around on her, but at the end of the day, you're really trying to say that to manipulate her and choosing you over him. And at the end of the day, because she's got 4 years with this guy, she's always going to choose that over somebody that she's only hung out with for a few weeks. He says, but her response seems something like she'd already made her mind up. Yeah, because you talked her out of liking you because you talked so much on the phone. Saying that if she decided to go back with her ex, she's going to take it slow this time around, and that she knows I'll find another girl, and told me good luck. Yeah, it's like she's already made up your mind. You're out, dude. He says, it's now been 2 weeks, and I don't think she's back with her ex yet. I cut all connections with this girl since she told me that she's sure I'll find someone else, but she still likes my photos on Facebook considering what happened between us. I don't know if that's her way of saying we should still be friends, or I'm delusional for thinking she's still attracted to me. I know I still really want her back. Please let me know what you think I should do, because I've never liked anyone like this before. At the end of the day, wait to hear from her. If she calls you or texts you, make a date to hang out, have fun, and hook up, because it may be a month, but at the end of the day, when she starts hanging out with him, and once this guy feels comfortable, he's going to go right back to his old behavior, because he was already bored of her in the past. And the best thing you can do for yourself is to meet some new women and get yourself some options, and stop all this talking and chatting on the phone, because one thing this guy mentioned earlier in his email, which I didn't talk about on camera, was that this is exactly what seems to happen with all the girls that he meets and likes, is that they're really into him at first, and then they just seem to kind of drift away. It's because you're talking too much on the phone, and you're not hanging out in person. You're gushing about your feelings instead of letting the woman bring up these things first, because it takes 2 months of having a tight, perfect game for a woman to start to feel in love with you. So if you'd like to get my help personally on a situation or a challenge you're having, go to my website, click the Products tab, and book a paid phone coaching session. And I'll talk to you soon.